with huge savings on our inventory. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Don't miss the big game specials at Southern Steer Butcher. Check out our website for the big game snack attack, party combo, sampler combo, and the best buffalo dip you've ever had.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
This Black History Month profile is brought to you by McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. McGowan's got your back. Derrick Henry, running back at Yulee High School, broke the national rushing record with over 12,000 yards in his 4-year varsity career with the Hornets. He then won the national championship and Heisman Trophy at Alabama, setting school records for the Crimson Tide. Henry was drafted in the second round by the Tennessee Titans and is currently crushing defenses with the Baltimore Ravens.
The Drill on 1010XL. From the studios of Republic Services, we'll handle it from here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Coogan Nation. Time to rise and shine and start your day with Duval Sports Media Big Steppers. Dan Hicken.
You know it!
Jeff Proctor.
It's a big deal.
Gosh, it sure is a big deal.
And E to the T.
E.T. is in the booth. Rise and shine, Googans, go time on a Wednesday morning. Right now, I'm like a coach without a headset, E. Good morning, friend.
What's up, Posse?
If I can hear you. You're close enough. I can hear. I don't know where my headphones are going.
Oh, snap.
I don't. Fumbling around the line of scrimmage. That's okay. We'll be good. Man, Vegas always knows, don't they? We've talked about this before. But we'll go topical right off the top. Florida hosted Vanderbilt in basketball last night, E. The line was a curiosity to me. 12.5 seemed like it was way too many. And typically when Vegas throws you a line that looks just too good to be true, it's because it is. And they sucker you in left and right. So I thought to myself, it's probably a bounce-back opportunity for the Gators here. I think I'd lay that 12.5, even though Vanderbilt owns some good wins this year. They've come at home. I really thought Walter Clayton Jr. would play. He didn't. But nonetheless, some of you out there this morning suffering from a bad beat, if you played that Florida-Vandy game either side, you were nervous right down to the very end. But, man, this is the one that they throw in that bad beat category. Here's why. So the line's 12.5. The game is basically back and forth, a tie game within 2 or 3 points of each other for just about the entire game until about the 7 or 8 minute mark, I'd guess. Then Florida kind of extended a little bit. They got the lead to 5, and then they got it to 8, and then it's 11, and Vandy cut. And then before you know it, Gators got a 14-point lead, and there's like 6 seconds to go in the game. Given that 12.5. Vandy inbounds the ball, dribbles down the court. And what do you do when you're up 14 and you don't care about the point spread and the time's running off the clock? You Olay that sucker, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucker gets Olayed. I'm walking off the court while Vandy shoots and scores. Actually, he scored about 5 seconds. Inbounded the Vandy guy, even though they're down 12, looked like he wanted to foul, and the rest weren't having it, and they dribbled it out. And so giving 12.5, Vandy scores in the last 5 seconds, and the game's 12. This is why I love talking about gambling, E, but I don't actually gamble.
Right.
That's why. I was looking at the ledger for that umpire who is in trouble for sharing an account with a guy who does bet on baseball, the umpire, not an account.
Sharing the phone, the device.
A device. But if you really read that entire story, and I did, outside of him being suspended from baseball and trying to appeal and the nuts and bolts of the story, I also looked at the totals and what these guys do every year. Wagered, $367,000, pulled out $294. I mean, they just lose 20, 30 grand every year. It's like that stat. Vegas had a bad December. Like the first month they've lost in 18 years. In Vegas, it's never about losing money. It's not making enough. That's the standard week to week. And part of it is because they're just so doggone good, man. Although if they suckered you into taking Vandy last night, then And then the sucker bit back because Vandy covers in the final couple of minutes. All right, on to the Jaguars news. We can cross one off the GM list. That one would be Mike Greenberg down there in Tampa. Now, Tampa didn't, prohibit them from doing it. But he has decided to stay down there in the Bucs organization. We had breakfast with Pacelli yesterday. E.T., if you could revisit cut one for us. Tony visited us in the 7 o'clock hour with his new role of executive vice president of football operations. It's the same title that Tom Coughlin had, not the same job. And Tony freely says that he's not about picking players and free agency. That he'll leave that to the GM, he'll leave the coaching to the coaching, and he'll just kind of be a bridge, some glue that holds it all together. Here's Tony in describing the organizational setup.
The way that's going to be structured is that you're going to have myself as the EVP of football operations, our new GM when we find one, and then coach, all reporting directly to Chad. And we will all, together, we'll all make big football decisions. But at the end of the day, the GM is responsible for, the draft, free agency, trades, cuts, all the player stuff, all the scouts, responsibility for that. I mean, head coach is pretty easy. He's the head ball coach. He's going to be coaching the plays and players and staff and everything that's most important, actually. The most important thing is what happens on the field every day, and especially on Sundays. And some Monday nights, hopefully, when we're one of the best teams in the NFL and we're playing national games every week. And then I will be over responsible for the operations. So all the departments and staff that are responsible for supporting both of those groups, the head coach and the GM.
My dog moving and shaking back there behind the scenes.
Now, see, we have a crisis. Hey?
This just doesn't feel right.
Before we had a problem, and now we had a crisis, because in Tony's answer in describing the setup of the organization, still waiting on that GM, by the way, or Jim, that whatever man or woman is best for the job. But I took that opportunity to go get my headsets, right? My earbuds, as we used to call them. And, now the problem is I don't know where they are. How do you lose? How does one lose that, do you suppose, in going from where I sit here to do the show to honestly can make a putt that long, 15 yards?
That's just wild.
Yeah, how do you lose them? What I do, it's a simple thing. Make sure it's not in there. I have a process. We all have a process to get by. I get done. I take this microphone, what do you call these things? Screen. I shove my earbuds, my headset down in them. I put them in my locker. We're good to go. Until we're not. So we'll manage our way through. There is a Jaguars news, by the way, when it comes to the searching. I mentioned that Mike Greenberg has pulled his name out, withdrawing from the Jags GM search. He is the assistant GM down in Tampa. Meanwhile, we add another name. This is a front office exec with the 49ers. His name is Josh Williams, so the Jags make a request there. Again, when it comes to these names, and I've been asked about it on the text line, and we've talked about it a little bit here, I think our conversations with Matt Everett the last couple of days have gone down this path, and it's how do you judge the names that are being thrown out for GM? That's a fair question. If you're not in the NFL machine, right, and you know these guys and where they've come, that guy used to be a scout here, this or that. I don't know how we all process that as fans. That's what Tony's there for, right? That's what the coach and the relationship that he could feel he's got there. The one thing about the setup Tony just mentioned, this is the first just clean, fresh start that we've had as an organization, a reboot. We need the one that completely turns the tide. Listen, it can happen. This will be hard to believe for you youngsters out there, but your boy here is a Braves fan. And if right now you're almost 30 years old, you're 25 years old, and the Jaguars have done nothing for you, hey, man, I was in your boat. I was in your boat, man. I was born in 1967. The Braves made one playoff appearance in 1982, lost in round one. didn't go back to the postseason.